In the heart of the celestial sapphire empire, on a throne world of crystalline spires and floating gardens, there existed a prison. Not a prison of bars and guard towers, but of time and silence. It was called the Stasis Vault of Uncontainables. Here the Empire, in its millennia of enlightened rule, had sealed away that which it could not destroy, could not understand, and dared not release. And the oldest, most terrifying inmate was not a warlord, nor a planet-killer weapon, nor a ravenous hive mind. It was a cat, or rather, what the ancient records called a Felis sapiens horribilis, the horrible sapient cat. To the avian XYL, the Empire's founding species, elegant beings of feather and fragile bone who prized mathematical harmony and tranquil order, the creature was an abomination. Its very existence was a chaotic paradox. Archives spoke of its arrival, a small, furred thing that had strolled out of a derelict generation ship of unknown origin, purring. It had then, in a single solar cycle, dismantled the logic of an entire orbital foundry by batting control orbs from consoles, caused 3 high philosophers to have nervous fits by staring at them while they meditated, and somehow caused the Imperial Symphony's gravity-manipulating percussion section to fail, resulting in the Grand Maestro floating helplessly for hours. But its true crime, the one that earned it eternal stasis, was what it did to the Emperor of that age. It had jumped into his lap, knocked over the Imperial scepter, and fallen asleep, purring like a malfunctioning microreactor. The affront to dignity, the sheer, unpredictable physicality of it, was too much. They couldn't kill it. Every attempt ended with the agents distracted by a rolling bit of string or a strangely appealing spot of light. They couldn't reason with it, so they did the only XYL thing they could. They built a perfect, timeless cell. A cube of phased energy, silent and immutable, and sealed the creature away. For 3,821 standard years. And there it sat, a faint, fuzzy silhouette in a golden haze, a ghost of chaos in a galaxy of strict procedure. Generations of guards, heavy-plated glint, were taught one command. Do not approach. Do not interact. Do not even look directly for too long. The beast's chaos is a subtle poison. The problem was the vault's power core. It was decaying. Not quickly, by Imperial standards, it had a mere century left, but the spectral harmonics were shifting. The containment field's frequency was drifting by 0.0003 cycles per year. The Imperial Science Collegiate delivered their report with trembling cerulean feathers. The field, the lead scientist chirruped, her voice a worried warble, will eventually resonate with the creature's innate biofield. The models suggest it could cause a localized reality inversion. Or more likely, it will simply fail. The creature will be free. Emperor Zil 9, a being of ancient wisdom and immense calm, felt a primal dread his species had all but forgotten. The stories of the soft destroyer, the purring menace, were nursery tales used to frighten chicks into order, to learn they were historical fact, and that the fact was about to cease being contained. Panic was beneath him. So, he consulted the Grand Archive. He searched for a solution not in force, but in context. The derelict ship's logs, painstakingly deciphered over millennia, spoke of the creature's origin world. A world of fierce extremes, of volatile weather and competing biomes. A world that produced, it seemed, not just the horrible cat, but its companions. Its handlers. The logs called them humans. The data was fragmented, contradictory. They were described as surprisingly resilient, notably illogical, and possessed of an aberrant tolerance for erratic organic life forms. Most intriguingly, there were references to a symbiotic relationship. The human, one log fragment read, will often tolerate significant inconvenience for the creature's presence, citing emotional support and vermin control. It was a desperate, insane gamble, but XYL philosophy held that to solve an equation, one must find the correct variable. Perhaps this human was the variable. A deep space probe was sent to the coordinates, a backwater world on the Orion Spur. It returned with a specimen. Not a warrior, not a diplomat. The request, based on the logs, had been for a domestic chaos liaison. The entity that arrived was underwhelming. Her name was Leo, short for Leontine. She was of average height for her species, clad in simple, durable fabric, with a satchel slung over her shoulder. She surveyed the glittering court, the towering, feathered XYL, the hovering glint guards, with a calm, observant gaze. There was no fear, only a pragmatic curiosity. "You are the expert?" Emperor Zil asked, his voice like wind chimes. "I'm a behavioral specialist with a focus on human-feline interspecies dynamics," Leo replied, her voice steady, translator implant humming softly. And a volunteer at the local shelter. You have a cat that needs handling. The court erupted in a flurry of ruffled feathers. Handling? One did not handle the menace. Leo listened patiently to the briefing. The 3,821 years of stasis, the perceived crimes, the impending field collapse. She asked practical questions. What's its estimated body mass? Has it been fed? Does it have access to a litter box? The ex-Weil looked at each other in horror. Feeding it? Inside the containment field? Unthinkable. Right, Leo said, a hint of a sigh in her voice. Okay, show me the cell. In the silent, hallowed vault, the glint guards pointed their energy lances from a safe distance as Leo walked, alone, toward the golden haze. She stopped a meter from the field, peering in. The silhouette was clearer now. A long-haired tabby, curled in a perfect sphere, faintly visible. Oh, you poor thing, Leo murmured, her voice dropping to a soft, cooing tone utterly alien to the vault. All that time all alone. No sunbeams, no boxes, no one to pet you. She sat down, cross-legged on the cold floor. She opened her satchel. The glint tensed, weapons humming. She pulled out a small, fuzzy mouse on a string, a feather toy, and a small, soft blanket. For 6 days, Leo visited the cell. She did not attempt to breach the field. She simply sat. She talked. She narrated stories of Earth, of sun-dappled windowsills, and the sound of can openers. She dangled the toy, moving it slowly just outside the haze. She placed the blanket near the field's edge. The ex-Weil watched via monitors, perplexed. They saw no strategy, no manipulation of complex fields, no grand logic. Just a human, being persistently, gently present. On the 7th day, the impossible happened. As Leo was describing the concept of catnip, the fuzzy silhouette within the field stirred. It uncurled. It stretched, back-arching in a slow, centuries-old movement. 2 glowing, green-slitted eyes opened. They fixed not on the Emperor watching from his remote screen, not on the panicking guards, but on Leo. And then it let out a sound. A raspy, thin, but unmistakable sound transmitted by the field's audio sensors. MRRP. The entire Imperial Science Collegiate had a collective feathershed. The sound was analyzed, found to be a non-aggressive query vibration. Leo's face broke into a warm, radiant smile. Hey there, sweetie, she whispered. Took you long enough. You must be so stiff. Slowly, with a grace that belied its millennia of stillness, the creature, the cat, padded to the edge of the containment field. It sat, wrapping its tail around its feet, and stared at Leo. Then it stared at the fuzzy mouse toy. Its tail tip gave a faint twitch. Leo didn't move to deactivate the field. She didn't call for engineers. She carefully, slowly, slid the feather toy through the field's containment boundary. The energy haze rippled like water. The cat watched the bright feathers with laser focus. Its hindquarters wiggled, a tiny, ancient engine of predation coiling. Then it pounced. A blur of fur and joy, it batted the toy, tumbled with it, a dance of pure, unadulterated play. The sound that filled the vault then was not a menacing roar, not a reality-warping screech. It was a purr, deep, resonant, and content. A vibration that hummed through the floor, through the bones of the watching ex-Weil, a sound of such profound, simple satisfaction that it short-circuited 3 millennia of terror. The glint guards lowered their lances, their rigid postures slackening in confusion. The cat, having subdued the feather toy, trotted back to the field's edge where Leo sat. It looked at her, then deliberately, slowly, pressed its head forward against the energy field in the spot closest to her hand. Oh, you want pets, huh? Leo said softly. Okay, let's see about turning this thing off. With the Emperor's stunned authorization, the field was lowered. Not in a dramatic shutdown, but in a gradual, gentle dissipation. The golden haze faded. The cat, now fully in the vault's real space, blinked in the light. It took one cautious step onto the cold floor, then another, heading straight for Leo. It didn't unleash chaos. It didn't dismantle the Empire. It sniffed Leo's offered hand, then pushed its head insistently against her fingers. Leo scratched behind its ears, and the purr intensified into a thunderous rumble. The cat, this ancient, terrifying legend, closed its eyes in bliss, kneading its paws against Leo's leg. Emperor Zil 9, witnessing this, felt the foundational stones of his understanding shift. This was not a monster. This was a creature of simple, profound needs, comfort, play, connection. Needs his elegant, ordered species had been utterly blind to. Their fear had built a prison for a being that just wanted a lap to sit on. The true horror was not the creature's chaos, but the Empire's own inability to comprehend a form of life so different, so physical and emotionally direct. They had sent for a handler, a specialist. What had arrived was an ambassador for compassion, for patience, for the simple, fearless language of touch and quiet presence. Leo had not conquered the beast with force or logic. She had befriended it. She had seen not a horrible sapient cat, but a lonely, bored, ancient house pet. Leo stood, the cat winding itself contentedly around her ankles. "Your Majesty," she said, looking up at the monitor, "I'll need a secure room with a southern-facing window, if you have such a thing. Somewhere soft for it to sleep. And we should schedule a veterinary scan. 3,821 years in stasis. We need to check its kidneys. Oh, and a litter box. Immediately, please." The Emperor, ruler of 1,000 stars, found himself giving orders for the procurement of a litter box and a cushioned window perch. As Leo walked out of the vault, the ancient cat trotting faithfully beside her, leaving a stunned silence in her wake, the galaxy's perspective shifted. The X-Wile had looked upon humanity and seen a lesser, chaotic species. Now they saw the keepers of a fearsome, gentle magic. They saw the ones who could approach the oldest, loneliest terrors not with weapons, but with a feather on a string and an open heart. They saw that humanity's greatest strength was not in containing the strange, but in making it family. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars.